there have been some changes in the upcoming slate of Marvel productions and maybe an update on National Treasure 3, or is there? We are going to talk about that here on That Park Place. Well, hello there. My name is Vash Sky, and joining me now is Lou Wasserman's Ghost. Lou, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. How about you?
Doing very well. Thank you so
Well,
much.
then everybody out there should be doing well because they're here.
Yes, they're here. But you know who isn't? Jonas, which is very, very unfortunate. So we're filling in for him. How about that right here? Hopefully we can go ahead and make the boss proud. How about that, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it turns out right here, there's been a couple of rumors, changes, some stuff happening at the studio division. Now, obviously, we've been keeping track of some of it, but we kind of wanted to go ahead and round out people's coverage right here on what's been going on because, well, as we've been saying here from That Park Place and Pro's channel, there's been a lot of moving parts, or moving pieces, I should say, as we get close to this proxy vote, huh?
I'm so close to breaking out laughing, ROTFLing, if I didn't want to tangle up my new microphone, over the words in that subhead. Focus on sure hits.
Well, let's
if they could focus on sure hits, boy, they would know something nobody in the movie business has ever known. So,
well, let's read it here for the people who might be listening right here. This comes from Game Rant. Rumor: 3 Marvel movies won't be getting sequels due to Disney's cost cuts. 3 Marvel studio films sequels are allegedly canceled because Disney wants to cut costs and focus on sure hits, as Lou said, after a series of box office duds right here. Oh, but I thought everything was just fine. I thought everything was just peachy. Apparently not. Apparently they haven't necessarily found a way to monetize these films even after they've been released, as people have been arguing with me on Twitter about ridiculously. Even like the Marvels, for example, didn't do any numbers whatsoever when it comes to the Nielsen.
We have a
ratings
highly
and so forth.
complex technical term in the movie business for what the Marvels did. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Bupkis. Bupkis.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Or if you prefer, nada. Nichevo.
Right.
Zip.
Right?
Wait. I'm wrong. All of that would imply a break-even, no profit. What they did was lose.
That is what happened right there. I got the documentation to prove it, to be honest with you. I don't get to show this off all that well, but you can see right here. This is a chart that I put together based on industry data, historical trends, and so forth. You can see right here the
such
Marvels.
A wonderful sense of humor. Profit in quotes over there at the end in the red.
Well, I felt it was necessary because after I was putting this together, it was like,
It reminded me of that song, you know, the rain is Tess, the fire's Joe, and they call the prophets, quote, prophets.
Exactly. You can see right here the Marvels with a reported net budget. And by the way, that was after getting a huge payout in terms of in terms of incentives and so forth, where they actually filmed that movie. $220 million right here, estimated M&A. That's marketing and advertising. $125 million. After all that investment, what they actually get back, they lost a bunch of money. About $250 million is what I have right here. Ant-Man Quantumania as well.
I would remind everybody of the famous statement by Senator Everett Dirksen back in the 60s from Illinois.
Please.
He was discussing the federal budget, and he said, and I love this quote, and I've used it ever since, $1 billion here and $1 billion there, and before you know it, you're talking about real money.
Yes, exactly. Oh man, yeah, it's all monopoly money, I guess. This is bad. Okay, this is not good. When they say duds, they mean it right there. Obviously, we know some of the duds that happened last year right there.
Blue milk duds.
It is terrible. If one could imagine, you know, a lot of people were, I think, shocked by how well or not. I mean, how not well Eternals did, but some people chalked it up. Oh, well, it's post-pandemic, it's all this, and not necessarily getting at the heart of the issue, which was, you know, these films have not resonated in the way that they had just a day prior.
I do not take anything away from the terrible tragedy, death, pain, and discomfort and disruption of the pandemic, but it's quickly becoming the "my dog ate my homework" excuse for everything in the universe, and it just won't fly.
It will not. I will agree, and they are coming rapidly to that conclusion right here. Marvel Studios is reportedly making huge changes to its lineup of superhero movies. Previous reports claim that Eternals is getting a sequel, and it's already in development. Meanwhile, there are rumors that Ant-Man and Captain Marvel are returning for another installment, despite both films not getting the green light just yet. However, Marvel Studios has remained mum about Eternals 2. And the Walt Disney Company's CEO, Bob Iger, recently confirmed that they would reduce the Marvel output and focus on its stronger franchises. According to Daniel Richmond, however, the anticipated Eternals, Ant-Man, and Captain Marvel sequels are no longer coming to big screens. Marvel Studio boss Kevin Feige, reportedly wanted to produce an Eternals sequel, but Iger allegedly does not, believing it's a guaranteed box office flop. Yes, that is absolutely correct. That assessment right there. I'll give Bob Iger credit on that one. No question. Consequently, projects like Ant-Man 4 and Captain Marvel 3 are not happening as Disney wants to avoid risks and focus on likely hits. What do you think about that, Lou? I mean, would these be box office flops if they ever were produced?
Of course.
Okay.
But the bigger question, when we show that list of yours again,
Yes.
it isn't just individual failures.
Yeah.
They killed Indiana Jones.
Oh my goodness gracious.
With all due respect to what's the kid's name? Driver. It isn't wokeness that killed Han Solo.
Yes.
It's box office flops and KK that killed Indy. My point being, you're killing franchises. You're killing properties that people have found special. And frankly, although I'm sure it'll make some money, don't you figure this is kind of the end of the run for Guardians of the Galaxy for the new one?
Oh, I think it has to be. I mean, there are rumors that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 or whatever inclusion in some Avengers film continues that legacy is moving forward, but you have to wonder what the likelihood of that is being successful on an ongoing basis, because James Gunn, he's obviously not part of Marvel anymore. He's launching the DC EU again.
Little Mermaid is over.
Yeah.
Okay. And at least they gave the Little Mermaid some decent attractions, unlike Moana, The Journey of Sewage.
If anybody wants to see this chart, by the way, you can go to my Twitter.
My bigger point,
pinned
gang, is it's not just that they're flops individually, is that there are follow-on consequences to not just the movie failing and losing money for the overspending, which we could talk about forever.
Yes.
But that means the merchandise side, the theme park side, the shows on board the cruise ships, all of that goes away. This is
that flywheel that Jay Versula was talking about at that Trion presentation last week there. He was talking about, hey, look, when you do not have successful films coming out, whether that be from the live action side or the animation side, that really does inhibit what you can do in the consumer product space, for example, or the theme park space, or any other number of ways that Disney monetizes these films going forward. And right here, it is crucial that the creative engine be restarted here.
Even more, and here's what it does. If Hasbro or Target or any of these big toy companies, retailers, all the people that do the merch, both on the production end and on the distribution and sales end, if they get burned by you this badly on something that should have been a guaranteed win, like an Indiana Jones,
right?
When you come to them with your new thing next time, at the very least, they're going to say, we want a much better deal than you would have given us otherwise. And at the very worst, they're going to say, nah, we'll pass. We're going to go with this other thing. Thanks a lot. Have fun.
Yeah.
So it goes beyond these individual properties into their relationships with all the other people that they do business with.
Absolutely, 100%. No question there. So it has. There's so many ripple effects from this once powerhouse of a studio not doing well, or not doing well with any of their studios, quite frankly. Right here, this is a huge problem. And so when you see this Disney white paper and they're saying, "Oh yes, the creative engine, it's still going strong," or remains.
And by the
strong.
way, when you go back to that article and they said they're going to concentrate on the sure things. Here's a little point you might want to consider when you made that whole big Thanos Infinity super duper end of this phase. You killed off half of the sure things. You killed him off.
Yep.
I think it was very touching, moving, and wonderful the way that Iron Man sacrificed, and I think that was a great ending.
Sure.
If you had to make an ending, but I bet right now they wish they had a live guy in a suit to make Iron Man 43.
You know, the rumor was, Lou, was that Chapek he really wanted to get guys like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. back in to this whole thing in order to at least kind of pass the torch, if nothing else. But now with Chapek out and Bob Iger in, those plans have changed.
Well, because it's the not invented here syndrome. If Chapek said yes, I say no. What was the question? Right? But that's the answer, you know.
Yes. And in the studio and creative side of things, it's absolutely true.
To be fair to Mr. Iger, which we try to be, he fights us everything tooth and nail, but we try to be. This is not unique. Every time a major studio in the history of Hollywood has fired the boss and brought in somebody new, you know, the first thing that somebody new does, as I've mentioned umpteen times on all our channels and in the article on the website, there's this lead time thing. And the first thing that the new guy does is cut the ad pub on everything that was in the pipeline from his predecessor. That's a fun word we hear lately.
Sure.
And the reason is so that when those things fail too, because they might have done well if they'd given them a chance, but they cut all the ads and publicity, he can say, see, you were absolutely right to get rid of that guy. He stunk, didn't he? Now watch what I do. That's just the way they do things. So.
Right. Very, very true. Very true. It's just that's how the industry works, and Iger obviously is a product of the industry, and he's going to work just like others in his space right there. Speaking of others in the space, Nicolas Cage comes out. Don't look at Disney if you want another National Treasure movie right here. In fact, the quote was far more amusing than that. But here from the Gazette, after Nicolas Cage confirmed there will not be another National Treasure movie, quote, "No, there is no National Treasure 3, Cage said in an interview with Screen Rant, squashing the rumor mill about the chances of the film. He added, quote, "If you want to find treasure, don't look at Disney, okay? It's not there." Man, that's tough. That is.
Ooh.
Yikes. By the way, look, I love Nicolas Cage. I do. But if you look at some of the stuff that he's been in recent years because of some financial issues that he's had privately, the fact that he's saying, don't look at Disney because there's no treasure there is really saying something.
He has this uncomfortable thing about telling the truth, doesn't he?
Yes. So do other people in the industry too, by the way. Dakota Johnson, for one. Maybe even Sidney Sweeney. But this is also, too, we want to update Johnny Depp. That's true right there. Yes.
And meanwhile,
also going on at Marvel, I know Culture Casino and Jonas J. Campbell did talk about this a little bit, but we have a little update here for you, interestingly enough. It seems that Midnight's Edge, which I would implore you after this video, definitely watch their latest one on this whole thing, found out that, you know how Hollywood Reporter said that they hadn't... Beau DeMayo had a OnlyFans and that it wasn't explicit. Turns out it absolutely was. And there is more stuff coming out. I believe the Insider had a report suggesting that he was a real bear to work in these creative spaces. That's
a very prejudicial term in some circles that he circles in. So let's leave Baloo out of this. Okay?
Well, that's probably a good point right there for sure.
The obvious one, pain in thee, wouldn't work either. So
let me get the quote for you. Actually, let me see if I have that.
Look, we all said, and I did one, I think, with Pro about this too. This had to be something so bad and so immediate and so about to break to pull this guy on the eve of the premiere. And one article, maybe it was this one, but they talked about how it's common. It is this one down below. They talk about it is commonplace for writers to get replaced or producers to get replaced. And usually everybody who was involved walks down the red carpet. There you go. That last sentence. Most Marvel premieres feature multiple screenwriters walking the red carpet. Some of whom had been rewritten by other writers who also walked the red carpet. Right. And the backstage fact is that writers on projects, often there are several, and the Writers Guild has a very, very busy job of adjudicating who gets credit for how much for what. Why? Because if and when the thing goes anywhere, the residuals have to get split up based on the percentage that you were deemed to be contributing to the whole. Right. So that's a legal issue and a financial issue, and the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild, we all deal with that on a regular basis.
Yes, and speaking of dealing with things that need to be contended with, X-Men 97 creator Beau DeMayo was reportedly, quote, an absolute nightmare to deal with on a daily basis.
That next one is more telling.
Yes, his behavior on OnlyFans was
described by Disney executives as creepy. This is not the Addams Family, folks. Creepy and kooky is not a good thing.
What's Disney?
But the fact that an executive, now this is where somebody said, "Listen, you can't mention my name, but," and they said, "Well, what can we call you?" And they said, "Well, call me a Disney executive." Even going that far out on the limb is major, seriously major.
Well, speaking of major, Jonathan Majors was also let go.
Well, see,
for stuff here.
The line I saw, they said DeMayo was a Thrawn variant or whatever it was. That's not right, but you get the idea. This is something that we will hear more about, and we will understand why they did it. And some people talk about, well, gee, they waited for the other guy to get convicted. Maybe they all thought, we waited too long last time. Let's get in front of this.
Right.
This is what I said on the other show, and I'm going to say it again because, by God, I was right. It is one thing for this show to come out, and there's already been a lot of controversy about the fact that they're doing a show that was beloved by so many and seemingly going out of their way to make changes in it. So, which happens all the time, where they take something that has theoretically a built-in audience of fans and they do everything they can to alienate those fans, right down to recasting the voice people. Oh, you're going to have a job on this, but you're not going to play the character you made famous. You're going to play his uncle or something. That's one thing, to do all of that. And if this show is so-so, or if people turn it on because they remember the old one and find, gosh, I like the old one, but this ain't so good, they're liable to maybe turn it off after the first episode or two, as we've seen with other shows like Ahsoka and all the others. But if they put this guy in charge and he has just come out in a major, huge scandal that they theoretically had to know about but didn't do something about, that's when people start saying, not only am I not watching this, I'm turning off their channel. I'm not going to their theme parks. I'm not buying Mickey Mouse dolls for my granddaughter. That's it. Goodbye. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. The same way Mulvaney was for Bud Light, the same way that the Tuck stuff at Target was. It poisons the brand, not just the show. And so that had to be the level at which this guy misbehaved. And I'm sure we'll eventually know what it was. And I have no idea what it was, but it had to be pretty damn bad. And it also had to be coming out pretty darn soon. And there
absolutely, 100%.
Another double entendre phrase without intention when I said coming out. But anyway.
That's
the news will be breaking, and it broke him. And I got to tell you something. I don't know this guy personally. I've seen a lot of interviews with him, and he's got a real... what's the word? Hubris is the word. He's got such an attitude of superiority, and I can do no wrong. And people like that are the ones who fall in the potholes. That's
very true. And here's what I want to ask you, Lou, because we know that this guy has a very, people can look up a lot of what he's been doing here and see that there were probably some red flags involved right here. What is the screening process for this from an executive level when hiring talent like this? Is there one? Is there supposed to be one?
Nowadays, I would at the very least think you would want to scan all of his social media before you went further with something.
I would think so, but these guys seemingly don't do this. And just
but see, if they just saw, he's a very active, outspoken gay man, by them that's a qualification, and it might be but outspoken exactly how is another story.
Right
Behavior exactly what is another story. And if my point is, If their job in hiring people, as we've seen from the D files and other evidence, is tick the boxes. Once you've ticked the boxes, you don't look any deeper. I have to presume. And, if somebody asked me, well, what would happen in the old days of Hollywood? The old days of Hollywood, you never would have heard about it because they would have fired him, paid off the people, and it would disappear. But you can't do that anymore because everybody's got a cell phone and everybody's got an internet connection and everybody out there is going to share what they think they know, what they do know, what they don't know.
Sure.
It's just the way things are.
That's very true. It's very true.
Again, as far as vetting people, if your object in hiring them is their talent and their quality and their ability to do the job, you certainly are going to vet that, and maybe other things will come out in the process. But if your object in hiring them, as we saw in the whole D-Files thing, was they've got to be of a certain political, social, cultural persuasion first, and not only will we hire them based on that, we will put them in and we will make it difficult for people who aren't of that ilk to be there. This is all, look, the bottom line is everything we've discussed today, everything we've been discussing for the last few weeks, everything that's in the proxy fight, it's all the same core problem. And that is that the people who are making the decisions are making them for reasons that do not have anything to do with creativity and quality, and therefore do not have anything to do with making a profit. They have to do with other values they wish to promote. Swell as people, swell as politicians even. But as business people who have a built-in, when I talked about the Marvel or the X-Men 97 fans being disappointed, how about Disney in general fans being disappointed? That's a much bigger ocean of potential customers, guests, whatever. Would you treat guests that way if they came to your house?
It's a very fair point.
If people came to your house because, well, you were famous for your barbecued brisket and they were out of town for several years and they came back and you said, hey, you got to come over and have dinner. And you thought, oh boy, I remember that brisket from 5 years ago. And when you got there, they served you quinoa souffle, you would be disappointed and you wouldn't be in a big hurry to come back. It's just that simple.
Well, right. I mean, your reputation matters, and the perception of your actions do matter, and they do linger. And so that's why when Marvel or Disney executives hire people like this with maybe some red flags in their bios or in their past, let's say, and something comes out in which they have to backpedal on, well,
there's no turning back now.
There it is.
And it's worse.
Yeah.
Because what if your position is that's not a red flag? That's a green flag. If your judgment on what is red and what is green is totally warped by your own and is not informed by a business sense, is not informed by a desire to please as many people as possible and therefore make money for the people that own the company, i.e., the people getting all those different colored cards in the mail these past few weeks.
That's very true. Well,
I guess I'm trying to say all of this stuff relates, folks.
It does.
This is, never mind the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the Disney World Universe. And it doesn't matter which of these brands you get into, you find the same misguided leadership. And, what's that old mafia thing about the fish rots from the head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
that's the weather report for a certain weatherman. You got a big storm coming.
That is so true. That is so profound. Well, folks, that does it about that's about it for our Hollywood roundup
that's
right
all,
here,
folks.
Yes. Well, we have
got to get out of here, right? So
I know. So thank you so much for
turbines to speed. Roger, ready to move out.
That's it exactly, right? Thank you so much for joining us today on this look at Hollywood and what's actually going on within Disney right now between all of these certain things. let us know what your thoughts are below in the comment down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you like it a lot, please go ahead and share it out. It definitely helps us with the algorithm. And
if you didn't like it, don't tell anyone.
Exactly. Thank you so much, guys, for all the news. That should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.